Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and specifically welcome back to a very sweaty game of World of Tanks. Why? Because it's a sweaty nerd here playing in a completely overpowered vehicle, the WTF E 100. Now, also, it has a very sweaty ending, for which you're just going to have to hang around and be able to see exactly why. So, the WTF E 100 replaced into the game as a rental in 2022. Gosh, this was a weird year for World of Tanks. And it came back kind of in the last form that we saw it. It has a 128, or should I say it had a 128mm caliber gun with a 5-round autoloader, 560 damage per shell, times by 5, that's 2,800 damage per magazine that this vehicle would be able to dump out within 8 seconds of the first shot. Yeah, it's kind of like coming around into the line of sight of 5 different Jagdtigers at the same time. You aren't really going to live for very long if that's the case. Now, I tried to actually get my 3rd mark of excellence in this vehicle with the rentals that I had, but I didn't quite manage to get it. I got up into kind of like not the mid-90s, otherwise that would be 95%, but the early 90s. I think I ended up getting up to about 93%. But I was actually pressured to play about 30 or 40 games of the Waffenträger Alpha 100 in a single day, which turned out to be pretty disgusting. And yeah, I might have ended up going a little bit of tilt and ended up sliding. But oh well, maybe there'll be next year if Wargaming do bring this back in as a rental, right? So the WTF 100, did it really destroy the matchmaker when it came back in this year? Not really. I think that there have been so many changes to the game and all of the vehicles getting better, with more hit points, they're all faster, with access to better equipment, that the WTF 100 kind of just, it came and it made an impact in certain scenarios, and let's just say it like this. I don't think it made the game more fun having a tank like this in the battle, but it didn't exactly really break World of Tanks. One of the biggest misconceptions of the WTF 100 is that it was overpowered. And while I said it was OP at the start of the battle, wasn't really OP, as I do some kind of spin to try and keep myself excited here, you know, just so bored at this huge magazine reload, which the magazine reload is 58 seconds, which is outrageous, which you can get down a little bit with a premium consumable, but that's about it. But the tank was never really overpowered. It would only end up with probably about a 48% win ratio on average back in the day. But what it was unbalanced and capable of just insane things that no other tank is. So it's a lot like an FE405 or a Foch B, although I'd say that those vehicles are actually kind of better than the WTF 100 really was, because of just this ridiculously awkward mag to be able to use. And eventually, Wargaming did nerf this tank. So let me clarify, before it was nerfed, yes, it was outrageous. It had a 6-round that reloaded faster than the 5-round, it had better gun handling, and it was just absolutely disgusting. It was like this laser pointer gun. Then Wargaming nerfed it, and it just wasn't really so good, and I guess that's where the mainstay of the stats. And eventually Wargaming just decided to remove it from the game, because I guess how do you balance the unbalanceable tank, right? Although, as we saw with it going back into the game, maybe Wargaming figure out now that they'll probably bring it back into some kind of black market that costs 50,000 gold, and they know they'll get buyers. There'll be buyers for 100,000 gold for this tank. That Leopard probably also one of them now. I've converted them to a WTF E 100 enjoyer there, ladies and gents, as they get clapped 3 times within 4 seconds of the first shot. Not really enough time to react, and my team also added in the final little bit of tracking. This thing just absolutely rips. It's able to do, you know, that kind of like 1,600 damage in 3 shots, or even more. It's just outrageous. That kind of like 3-round burst, usually within, should we say, the reaction period of 6 cents, or maybe just somebody with quite slow reactions. The WTF 100 gameplay, though, I don't think anyone could say they really enjoy it. Sure, you enjoy it when you really get to rip out that magazine, but I guess maybe I've been approaching this tank in the wrong way. Maybe I'm meant to play it like I play an artillery, you know? I do enjoy playing my Batchat 15558, for example, when I'm having a sandwich on stream. And maybe the WTF 100, if it does go back into the game as maybe some kind of reward vehicle, or if Wargaming just put it in for an obscene amount of rentals, could actually be a good opportunity to do things either on your desktop or to go and have some snacks. Possibly the best way to play this vehicle. However, unfortunately, with my team now down on 2,000 hit points and a couple of kills, I think there's not enough time for snacks and more time needed for action. And it's this stage of the battle where you've tried to like carve up that soft damage that you realize, okay, it's not going to be enough. The enemy team aren't idiots. They're not going to drive out in front of me. Okay, we're going to have to go hunting in this situation. It's quite hard to go hunting in something that has such an awkward turret. But okay, Mr. STB1, you want to leave your hull there? And again, the reaction period. 1,000 damage just like that, with I think the TNH adding in an extra round. And we get to go for a cheeky reload. It doesn't really feel too bad to do 1,000 damage and then to have kind of like your 50-second reload. It still sucks. It's kind of a bit like a Foch 155, for example. The infamous 750 DPM tank, because you only put in one of your 3 rounds, then you have a 1-minute reload. This vehicle, similar in a way, but usually you can hit about 2 out of 5. It's still kind of like a pass in most tests. It's 40% a pass, I guess, depending on where you're looking in the world. I think at like a UK university, a 40% is still a pass. Barely. A pretty scuffed pass, if you do ask me. I wonder what it's like in other institutions around the world in their higher tier education. Anyway, Quacky Babs, focus on it at hand, and that is hopefully being able to give people higher tier education into the intricacies of the WTF E 100. So we can hear an intuition switch here. Looks like I'm switching out to a mag of APCR, and that is actually quite a long intuition switch time. And I guess that's because obviously you can't use vents on this vehicle. Still looks like it took like about 10 seconds to be able to switch the mag. But I want those filthy gold rounds, those 350mm of pen as we come around the corner, and there's a tank, and the goodbye tank. And do we get a shell in before his reload? And there's another tank. And that was what was savage about this vehicle. If you got good reactions, and I set this thing up personally with a turbo, with optics, and with a bounty rotation device. And that bounty rotation device really helped bad gun handling this vehicle has. Wargamer were actually a little bit sneaky with this vehicle because they didn't allow us to get the field mods. They didn't actually give field mods for this vehicle. As far as I can remember, am I making a mistake here? I don't think I am. I don't think you're able to get field mods on a rental of a tank. Of course, the vehicle does have field mods attributed to it if you're able to get it for if you were to hack Wargaming systems and get it as a permanent tank. But no, as a rental, we weren't able to get the field mods. And so I did end up having to use coated optics instead of boosting up the view range. Could have probably made do without optics in that way. And I would have really liked to have seen what this thing would have been able to do with a lot of the field mods, like the ground resistances and the extra track health. Okay, in this situation, we got 2 minutes and 42 seconds left to win it. I don't have time to mess around. Luckily, the IS-7 misses. The mill tells me to fall back. I press my F6 key, which is negative for me. Come around the corner, 1 shot into a 50B, 2 shots into the 50B. Not sure if they were reloading or if an innocent man in their 50B on the enemy team just was having a bit of a mare. And that IS-7 seems to be looking behind them in sheer panic. And it's understandable because I just dealt 1,800 damage to them within 4 seconds. But you wish you'd hit your shots now, Mr. IS-7, and just like that, we're back into this game all of a sudden with 5,600 damage dealt and 5 kills. This thing just prints it with all 5 rounds delivered to tier 10 tanks there, crippling 1 and removing the 50B from the game. But with 2 minutes left, I've got to take matters more into my own hands. There's still 7 vehicles left on the enemy team to deal with, and so even though I'm reloading, I'm trying to min-max this, and oh dear, my artillery decides to stun me, which slows me down, which prevents me from being able to get the ram in, and oh dear, this is starting to look really awkward, ladies and gents, as I get shot 3 times by what looks like a stock T-54, and I'm just hoping that this Cobra is going to be able to help me out here. Pretty awkward stuff. Luckily, the WTF Panzer IV behind me, which used to be the baby brother of this tank before it was replaced with the Grilla, and me and the Cobra are really not helping each other out right now with 1 minute and 20 seconds left on this game. We're going to have to hurry up and be able to get ourselves into this battle quickly, as I've just basically wasted probably about a whole minute with that T-54, and all I've done is lost pretty much half of my hit points fighting a tank I'll be reloading. Oh well, misplay by me. But it's not done yet. I told you this was going to be a sweaty game, ladies and gents. Will we win? Will we lose? Well, we're just going to have to find out as the WTF Panzer IV on my team finishes off the IS-7 as well. Really starting to have a big impact here. They still got 5 vehicles left. I really need the Centurion Action 10 to miss me, and also I can't come around this corner as the tank destroyers are going to absolutely blat me. I'm really trying to bait with my plate here. Looks like the enemy artillery misses, hits their own Centurion. The Cobra manages to finish off the Centurion Action 10. I track, I damage, hopefully I damage again, pick up the frag, 2 shells left, 3 vehicles left, including a WTF Panzer IV hasn't even been spotted the whole round, can't quite find a shot into the GWE 100, and with 20 seconds left, it's starting to look really grave. Come on, Centurion Action 10 on your 1,500 hit points, please be able to make your way into the base. Now what we're going to do is find a WTF Panzer IV to see if we're going to be able to shut them down with 10, 9, 8. Oh my gosh, where is he? He must be in this bush. He must be in this bush. I got spotted. He must be in this bush. He misses. 3, 2, 1. And literally on the buzzer. Would you believe it? The Centurion Action 10 actually manages to get the shell in. And with just shy of 7,000 damage and 1,600 assistance and a top gun, we got across the finish line. And everyone did their part. The WTF Panzer IV, the Cobra, and even that Centurion Action 10, who was obviously just saving all of his hit points for the most opportune moment to be able to get the WTF Panzer IV right. That was about as sweaty as it gets. And this pretty much sums up the WTF E100. You have that period of boredom, waiting for your opponents to make mistakes, and then you just ship it with your hit points towards the latter stage of the battle. And boy, when you come around the corner and kill 2 tier 9 heavy tanks, and then when you come around the corner and kill practically 2 tier 10 heavy tanks with another mag, yeah, there's no wonder to see why this vehicle is just so infamous in World of Tanks. It's that scary, I don't give a monkey's damage dealer, but also so darn frustrating with a horrible turret and just an awful reload. But the result is great. We get a high caliber for that just shy of 7,000 damage, and we get a top gun for those 6 kills. And oh wow, looks like I didn't have any chocolate at half price, and so I resupply that for 20,000 credits, meaning that we actually lose some credits without any kind of boosts in this game back in October. 2022 was a very interesting year for, shall we say, reality, and also an equally interesting year for World of Tanks. I would have never thought that Wargaming would have brought this vehicle back, and to be fair, I think they did so in a pretty cool way. So thumbs up to you, Wargaming, for that. Nevertheless, I'd still like to say that this vehicle is completely toxic. It's toxic to play. It's toxic to play against. And I really hope that Wargaming don't think that just because it was a bit of fun for a few weeks for this tank to go into the game, that they think it's a good idea to be bringing it back constantly. As it's just the perfect example of tank balancing taken to an extreme. Whenever you put all of your statistics into one area, it can certainly be fun for when you're in that scenario, but it definitely isn't fun when either you're outside of it or the enemies are. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, this was a sweaty nerd playing a sweaty tank with a sweaty scenario in the end of the game. Really hope you enjoyed the replay. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know what you thought about the WTF E100 going back into the game. Do you think it was fun? Do you think it was awful? Did you hate the matchmaker when it was happening? Or do you think that Wargaming could go as far as to bring it back? Or alternatively, put it back into the game for good? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.